So, do you want to know the truth behind the declining real estate market and why this winter could be an opportunity for buyers? Stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is Tova Williamson. I am a local real estate agent in the Seattle metro area. Today we have a very special guest.
Hi, I'm Leah Zamir. I work at Guild Mortgage in Seattle.
So in this channel, we talk about what it's like to live in the Seattle metro area. So if those are videos you want more of, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that little bell so that you'll be notified every time a new video comes on. We honestly get reach outs every day from people like you moving and wanting to live in the Seattle area. We love hearing from you, but we can't help you unless you reach out to us. So give us a call, email, text, whatever you got to do. We got your back when you're moving to Seattle. All right. So today, this video, we're going to talk about just the truth behind the declining market. There's a ton of just, I feel like, noise out there of what's happening and economists and just there's so much out there of what's going on. So we're going to kind of just talk about what is actually going on in the market, the Seattle market, because real estate is very hyper local and what's happening here may not be happening in, Phoenix or Florida or wherever. So just more specific to our market. One of the things that I always like to point out, and we've seen interest rates absolutely affect the real estate market and the prices here, but we do also typically see seasonal slowdowns this time of year anyway. So yes, interest rates are affecting it, not to say that that's not a contributing factor of the slowdown, but we also get seasonal slowdowns too. So typically December's not like the pop and crazy month for real estate sales in the area or really most places. So we do have that seasonal slowdown that is affecting it, but there's more to it than that. So
The city slows down this time of year.
yeah, and it's snowing right now and nobody knows what to do. Everybody freaks out and stays home. So yeah.
Not the rain.
Yeah. So let's see. We've got a little blip here to share.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of negative information out there that people are it's just, like you said, noise is what it is, but there's all that noise is missing a lot of data. And so here's 3 articles that I did that I do believe in terms of my own opinion. These are all from the last 2 months talking about the housing shortage. One mentions it doubling in the decade, and people are we in a bubble, all that stuff. Housing market, like anything else, is just simply supply and demand. We had an anomaly the last 2 years with where interest rates were. They were in the 2s, below 3. And we missed the boat, some people might think, but what it did was it really shrunk the inventory levels. Because if you have a house with very little debt on it or a very low interest rate, it's going to be really hard for you to sell that home and get rid of it. So all those people that bought in the last 2 years, especially their stocks were at a high, they might have even bought a couple homes. They pulled inventory, really important inventory for us. And we're also right now, if you buy, we're getting ahead of a huge purchasing market. If you go to the next slide, these are, the millennials, biggest generation we've ever seen on the planet. Millennials are statistically buying at a later age. And as of 2022, the largest population of millennials are only 31 and 32 years old. Average home buying age is 33, 34. And then if millennials are buying a little later in life, we should be seeing a influx of buyers come in over the next 3 to 4 years, maybe even the next 5 to 6 years. And that will keep our supply and demand very, very tight. And again, people think well, what's different now? First-time home buyers, they are taking something off the market. If someone's going to retire or buy their second home, a lot of times they're going to list their house before they buy their next house. So that doesn't change inventory. But when you have an influx of first-time buyers, they're just plucking and pulling all the inventory that's left over.
Yeah.
Also, another reason why this winter window is so excellent is, yes, interest rates are high. They've kind of topped out, a lot of economists think right now. So we're in this was the mortgage finance forecast. They were pretty accurate. Q4, we did get all the way to the high 6s. Some loans were even locked above 7%. And as soon as inflation data came out strong last month, we've started to see a slow decline. Average interest rate on Freddie Mac's website is 6.3% right now. So they're pretty spot on. We're going into Q2 on a interest rate declination, and that one in that highlighted bar shows that in Q1 of 2023 we're going to be at 6.2. Not to mention, if you buy now before interest rates drop, when the frenzy starts again, you can always refinance. If you had a 6.3% interest rate, it would not behoove you to refinance down into the mid fives just in the single year that you own the house. I also posted two more economists. One is crazy conservative and the other is a little more liberal. One of them's guessing that we'll be at 4.5% in 2023. That's the estimate from Fannie Mae. And then the mortgage banker's 5.4. They are a little more conservative, so I do like to follow them because it's better to play worst case scenario than best case.
Yeah. Well, and just even talking about rates, even in the fives, I mean, that still is not a bad rate. Like we just got so used to 2% like that. And like, you said before, I feel like that's probably not ever going to happen again, right? Like rates in the twos.
I can't see how. I mean, it was just it was a reaction to something so extreme that happened to us. And I think that the benefits what's the opposite of benefits? The costs outweighed the benefits for that scenario long term economically for people. It set a lot of people up for success, but I think, if it's deterring people from buying their primary homes now, that's not really helpful. We were due for a very insane course correction, and luckily our like I said, our demand and our supply still haven't even come to meet each other yet. There's just a correction happening. And so now is a really great time to get, like we talked about it in another video, but getting closing costs covered, getting a slower purchasing style. You don't have to like grab the first house you see. You can Next, slide 2, if you go forward, what if it only appreciates 2%? What people don't realize with owning a home is it's one of the greatest return for your buck that you can get in terms of investments. If you buy a $400,000 home and you put 10% down, even if the home only appreciates 2%, you're getting $8,000 on your $40,000. That's, in really basic numbers, a 20% cash on cash return. So that's what leveraged investing is. And then you're also, like, if you buy Amazon stock or some sort of stock, you have to pay capital gains on any earnings you have. On your house, you're only paying capital gains if you make more than $250,000 as a single person, $500,000 as a married couple on the house that you own.
And that's when you sell too. Like if you hold on to it, you're not.
That's when you sell, not to mention you're not paying someone else's mortgage. It doesn't take much appreciation to make it worth it. And that's where it's so low risk, even in today's market.
Well, and just to show, as far as median home prices over the past few years, typically home prices always go up. I mean, right now we're seeing a bit of a dip, but again, we're still up year over year from last December. So I think in the long term, home prices almost always appreciate. So you can be a little more, if you're wanting to buy something and live in it for like a year or two, may not make sense and you may not see your money return. But if you're going to live in it for 5, even longer years, then you're almost always going to see
and like you mentioned, it doesn't even need to be living in it as long as you're keeping it for X amount of years.
Because this just shows, I mean, the last 10 years, that's inventory. So this is like median sales price in Seattle over the past 10 years. I mean, we can see how gradually it's gone up. This little blip right here was like this crazy increase from COVID. That was 2021. And then that was 2022. And then this is 20. So I think over the long term, you're still going to see it increase over time. You're still paying down your mortgage. So you're paying down your debt. So then it's increasing and you're paying it down. So then your equity is getting even bigger. And if you do repairs or like update your kitchen, things like that, you're just going to see even more of a gain. So I think, over the long term, you're still going to get.
Can you go longer than 10 years? I'd love to see.
I think 10 years, what's the math on this? 2006.
17 years.
So what a time. 2006 median home price in Seattle is $399. Like that would have been great. And now it's 890, and that's still up. So that's November 2022. I mean, if you go November 2021, where are
I think
we?
an even more fantastic thing to look at in this chart too is like that 2008, that we had the largest decline
Mhm.
in housing history, and it only took until it looks like 2013 to gain that equity back,
Mhm.
which is such a short amount of time. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as you, hopefully, yeah, you're still employed and able to make your mortgage payment. I mean, you, during these hard times, if you can weather through them, then yeah, like you can come out and
and that was back when banks, by the way, didn't have as strict of guidelines in terms of how they lunch their, we are supposed to help you if there's a chance of foreclosure, that we have to do quite a few steps to support you in terms of forbearance, things like that, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure you keep that house as well. Keeping
yeah.
those investments in play are far more important to the banks than taking the houses back.
Yeah, I think they probably learned that from '08 and '09 too, right? They were like, oh, this was terrible, like all these people foreclosing. So,
Seattle's also doing a big move towards like helping people build ADUs and getting other rental properties. And so if that doesn't show you an inventory crisis, I don't know what else does.
mhm,
We're seeing it a lot across the West Coast. In California, they have a $40,000 grant to build an ADU. If you make less than, it changes by county, I believe, but it's around $200,000 or less. They'll give you money to build these things. And
oh
that's because
wow,
even as renters, we don't have the inventory we need.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's and yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say that just means that like land and property and owning homes is um a commodity that is fixed. We can only build so much in this
Mhm,
area. And I mean, like there's water everywhere here. I'm not talking
mhm.
about on the sky. There's lakes, there's forests, there's national parks, state parks, so many plots that we cannot build on. And so
Mountains, yeah,
amount, and like it's cramped here, and they're really looking for innovative ways to get more people in housing. And if the government's looking at it and investors are looking at it and you're looking at moving here, there's obviously something there.
yeah. Well, yeah, because in Seattle, to your point, it's like they, I think, did away with all the single family zoning designation. So now everything can have like a backyard ADU or something, like everything can be multi homes on a lot, which I mean, a lot of people are complaining about that live in these neighborhoods. They don't like that, but I mean, we don't have enough houses for people. Like there's a major housing crisis. So that's all we can do. Like there's not all this open land really to just build all these new homes on. There's some kind of out in the suburbs you see, but mostly in Seattle too. It's like you see old homes getting bought and torn down, and then they put like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 townhouses on it. Like that serves more people than just one house. So, whether you like that or not.
That's a slow supply chain too. Like you
Mhm.
think that's, oh well, that's combating inventory, but there's tons of supply chain inventory issues that we're still working out. So like these
Mhm.
things are not being replenished as quick as people are moving here and needing that home buy. I think I've
Yeah.
approved more people this year than I did any year in the last 5. So
Yeah.
still wanting homes.
Yeah, exactly. And there's still, I mean, somewhat, and people, I feel like, we saw during COVID, like the crazy moving boom where people are working remote, they can live wherever. So it's just like people had so much more flexibility and freedom of where they lived. They didn't mind living out as much. They're like, oh, whatever. I only have to go to the office maybe once a week. So I'll live further out. I don't care. Whether or not we're going to see people coming into the office more might change things. But yeah, I feel like for a while people were more open and people are moving from out of state in. Now we're just not seeing quite as many people moving
Mhm.
here
Well,
as
the
much.
home
But
became so much more than just a home during the pandemic. Like
mhm,
it's your office, it's your workout space, it's like your livelihood. And I think the importance of that home was reinvigorated, and like, and people see how crucial it is to live in an area you really want to live in. And that also is going to drive people to own versus to rent, and push people in
mhm.
that direction. So
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, we talked about inventory levels they're getting better, they're higher, but buyer demand has kind of faltered a little bit. But like you talked about, I think that the spring, as long as interest rates kind of stabilize and stay, we might see kind of a buyer boom again where people are like, okay, maybe I am, I'll buy now at this rate. So, yeah. I don't know what my point was, but
Well, I think your point is like, with those buyers, you had a couple people that we talked about that took themselves out of the competition because they were scared of losing their jobs with the tech layoffs and
Mhm.
their stocks down. And a lot of really strong buyers aren't looking right now. And so they're just sitting in wait. And
Yeah.
you can get in during this really tiny window where interest rates are on the decline and inventory is still a little bit bent towards buyers versus sellers. You might be getting in like a crucial, perfect moment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, well, that's kind of a little bit of the truth behind the declining market. I mean, rates absolutely affect it, inventory levels affect it, buyer confidence affects it, just our general geographic area, even interest rates not even included, affects just inventory levels here. So there's a lot to it, but moving to Seattle can be tough, especially if you don't know the neighborhoods, the areas, what's going on in the market. That's why we're here. We want to help. We love talking about this stuff. I mean, we could talk about it like all day, but it's probably boring for most people. But we can't help you unless you reach out. So give us a call, email, text. We got your back when you're moving to Seattle.